Hello everyone and welcome to the February 2020 webinar. Today we'll be talking about some installation tips and tricks. My name is Jeremiah and I'm the Training and Technical Support Manager here at Win911. Alright, so to look at our agenda, we're going to be talking about some antivirus, anti-malware software, what to do with that. Talk about the local admin account being prepared and to not change this account. Notifiers and modules are Windows services. We're going to discuss what that means and the importance of the local admin account that you use on those services. I'm going to dig into IIS a little bit, SQL databases and the account permissions. Also talk about backups briefly and some errors that you might encounter and what to do about those. And then we'll discuss Internet Explorer and a couple of steps there in case you're getting any issues with the Internet Explorer for the workspace. We'll point out that TAPI, Windows 10 1903 and 1909 was broken by Microsoft. We do have the GrandStream as a replacement, still using your analog phone lines. And then I'll just do a quick intro to the workspace and the flow of how to configure that. Alright, so first, antivirus, anti-malware. So when you're first doing the install, obviously antivirus or anti-malware software that's purpose is to block specific software that it's unsure of. It can cause some issues with installing Win911. So the best thing to do is just to turn it off temporarily, disable it. You need to get with your IT department who's in charge of it. If you don't have an IT department and it's just a local antivirus that you can actually control, just Google it and take a look at how the settings are turned off or disabled, or put some temporary exceptions in there. For example, you'd want to add a temporary exception for the install directory, which is just %tmp%. You can put that in a Windows Explorer window, and in the search bar, type that in, hit enter, and that's the temp directory that's going to be used for all of the files for installation. You also want to add a permanent exception for the Win911 runtime directory. So this is the C program files x86 Win911 software. That's our folder. All of our runtime and all of the software pieces and modules are in that folder. So add a permanent exception for everything below that Win911 software folder. And you'll also want to add a permanent exception for the Win911 app server directory. So this is basically where the web pages are stored in the app server that talk back and forth between the services and the app server for the product. That directory is C inetpub /www-root, and then you'll see that we have our modules in folders underneath that. So again, just put an exception for everything underneath that www-root folder. Alright, on to the Win911 service account. So a lot of times we have tickets that come in. A pretty common issue is that somebody installs Win911 and then they want to change the account. Best not to ever have to do that. We want to make sure that you guys are preparing a local admin account before you do the installation, and that you understand how it works, right? That's one of the main purposes for this webinar, is to make sure we understand how these things work and to get prepared to give you the best possible setup and installation. So you want to make sure that you use an improved or existing local admin account. And you're going to see this a few times because it's important, but the password never changes. If you don't have an approved existing local admin account that you can use, just create a new one. If you have to get IT involved or approval for that, that's fine. Just create a new local admin account specifically for Win911. Make sure that the password never changes. You want to log into the machine as that account when you're running the installation for Win911. And this is the most important part to understand, is why we need this local admin account and why the password should never change. All Win911 services, the IIS application pools, the SQL databases, and the SQL sysadmin account are going to run as the local admin account that you choose for the installation. Okay, so What happens is you install it as account A and you want to change it to account B. Now you have multiple services that you have to change manually, multiple IIS application pools that you have to change manually, and you have to go into the SQL database as the original account that has permissions, because remember, this was made the sysadmin account, so you have to log into it as original account A and add account B there to make that also a sysadmin and own all of the databases for Win911. So it's a lot of work and it's unnecessary if you can just get prepared and make that local service account that's part of the local administrators group, get that ready to do the installation from the beginning. And again, don't change it and don't let the password change. Set it to never expire. A little more on services here. So again, every Win911 module runs as that service account that was entered during installation, and notifier types are included. So here's a screenshot from my VM. Here you can see all of those Win911 services. They run as that // which is just localhost / Jeremiah account. It's going to run like that permanently. So if I was to try to go change the password or change the account, I'd have to manually go through and change all of these. We don't want to do that. Same thing here, more on IIS application pools. Every Win911 IIS application pool runs as the service account entered during installation, notifier types included. So you can see here I brought up IIS and just highlighted all of ours from Win911, and all of them run as that same Jeremiah account, which is the local admin account I used during installation. A little more on IIS app pools, and so this is a little bit more on the troubleshooting side. Maybe if you're having issues during the installation, one of the common issues with IIS you might see is that it will come up with an error saying that the HTTP binding port is not port 80. Maybe there's another piece of software on your machine that's using IIS. Go to IIS and check the settings. So if you look on the left screenshot here, you can expand sites. Go to the default website, right-click it, and go Edit Bindings. Now on the right side, you can see that we want that host name to be blank, the port to be 80, and that IP address is just a star for any IP address. If you have another piece of software that's using this, maybe HTTP is going to be binded to a local host name, maybe even a different host name, or maybe a different port. So this is a quick way to just make sure that the host name is blank, the port is set to 80, and that's what we need from the Win911 side to be able to work. Alright, more on SQL. Again, every Win911 SQL database is created and owned by that service account used during installation. And the account is made the sysadmin for the Win911 instance. So the instance is inside the SQL database. You can have multiple instances. You have one for your factory talk or any other software that you want. We create a Win911 instance for our databases. So you can see here on the left screenshot, that's my host name that's highlighted at the top, tech support 01, and then /Win911 is my instance. When you expand that, all of those databases, which are from Win911, all of our notifier types and all the other modules are created. And in the middle there, you can see the owner that's highlighted is that account that we use during installation, tech support 01 / Jeremiah. Also, if you go a little further down on the right side screenshot, you can expand security, expand logins, go to that tech support 01 / Jeremiah, which is the account we use during installation. If you right click on that and go to properties, you'll see the server roles is highlighted, and the most important part there, the sysadmin is checked. So this is why this account cannot change. If you lose access to this account, if the password changes, you're not going to be able to get into SQL. The product's not going to be able to work until you get that password set back and you have access back into this SQL database login. A little more on SQL here. So I just wanted to point out the backup and restore procedures. There's a link there, the Win911 Standard Interactive Advanced Backup and Restore. The screenshot is on the left side here, shows you our knowledge base. So if you go to our website and you click on support knowledge base, it takes you to that page. You just type in the word backup, and the first one that pops up right there is your backup and restore procedures. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that you cannot restore a backup of a previous Win911 version to a newer version without doing additional steps. It's able to be done, but there's a lot more involved. You want to go from the same version to same version only. So for example, if you're running 3.19.9 and you take a backup of the databases and then you upgrade it to 4.19.24, you can't just simply restore those backups and be done. You can't do that. What you'd want to do is make sure that the data from the new version, 4.19.24, right, all the databases were upgraded to that version. You take a backup of that new version. Now that you're at the latest and greatest, take a backup of that new version so that if there's ever an issue, you can install the same version and then just directly restore those databases to the same 4.19.24 version. And this screenshot on the right here, it's just a quick little view into the backup procedure. So obviously very high level, you just right click on the database, go to tasks, and go to backup. There's going to be one more screen that pops up where you want to save it and just click OK. So pretty simple to do, but just be aware that you want to be on the same version that you're trying to restore the databases from, not a different version. Alright, now the main Win911 installer, this was created as an install executable that enables everything Win911 needs to install successfully. However, occasionally SQL Server is going to run into an issue during the installation that can only be revealed by observing the install log or by installing SQL Server from the native installer. So what does that mean? Our regular Win911 install exe is going to install SQL. It's going to do a lot of prerequisite checks, make sure that IIS is turned on, a whole bunch of other things in the background, and you might run into an issue where SQL is not getting installed successfully. And to get the maximum amount of data out of why SQL is not being installed, what you want to do is open up that installation media folder. So you can see here in the screenshot I've highlighted, for example, the 4.19.17 install folder. And there is a SQL Server Express folder underneath that. And then there's that setup.exe. Now what that does is it installs SQL Server manually with nothing to do with Win911 software. It's just SQL Server installing. And that'll give you a window into what's going on the Windows machine and why SQL Server can't install. It's going to have a little bit better logging. Now again, you can see this in our full install log, but instead of digging through that, what you want to do is make sure that you're logged into the machine as the account that you want Win911 to run as full-time. That's that local service account. That's a local admin account we talked about. And then run that setup.exe in the SQL Server Express folder from that main installation media. That will give you much better information as to what's going on. And it's easier than digging through the full install log if you don't know what you're looking for. Now after you finish installing SQL here, and you give it the same name of just Win911 for the instance, you can go through and run the installer for Win911 after that. And then you should just be able to choose the option at point at existing, because it's already installed, instead of the option for create new. Alright, so some more on SQL here. If you're having SQL errors during install, one of the most common things that I wanted to add in here is that if you want to go to your add remove programs and from the control panel and just check to see if you have 2012 native client. If this exists prior to installing Win911, that's going to be causing a problem usually if you are running into SQL errors. Okay. Now it's normal to see it after Win911 is installed. However, if you're getting those SQL errors during the initial installation, just take a look over here, remove this, and try again. Alright, on to Internet Explorer. So there's been quite a few cases in the past where the installation goes smoothly and you try to go open up the Win911 workspace, which is loaded in Internet Explorer, and there's some issues. Either you don't have it displaying the right way, parts of it are missing, something to do with that workspace is just not working right. And a lot of times that's going to be because of the IE security settings. So that can definitely cause issues. What you want to do is go into your Internet Explorer and lower your security settings, If you don't have the option to do that because it's managed by your IT department or someone else, you need to get an exception made or get approval for them to lower the security settings for it, or at least go add the workspace URL, which is the host name of the machine and local host, to the local intranet sites. So you can see here in the screenshot, starting at the left, click on that settings icon, go down to Internet Options, click on the Security tab, and then on the local intranet, highlight that, and then click on Sites. That's going to cause that pop-up down at the bottom to come up where you says use the settings below to define which websites are included in the local intranet zone. Click on the Advanced button, and this is where you can manually add the host name and the local host option. Make sure those are added, and that should take care of any of those security issues or things not displaying correctly for the workspace. Okay, just a quick reminder here about the notifiers. What we like to recommend is you want to use more than one notifier method for redundancy. This is just a good safety measure, right? These notifications are important. The software is important. The factory or the building or the process that they're monitoring is important. So you don't just want to have one notifier, say just voice, and if something goes wrong with your voice gateway, with whatever you're using, whether that's a TAPI modem, a Grandstream, a voice over IP server, anything like that, you don't want that to be the single point of failure. So we recommend using more than one. For example, voice and email, email and mobile, all four of them, voice, email, SMS, and mobile, but at least two for your own redundancy. And then just a quick reminder for anybody that might not know, for the voice TAPI, so those TAPI modems that Multitech made and we sold, Microsoft broke their TAPI functionality in Windows 10 1903 and newer so far. So as of right now, February 2020, that means 1903 and 1909. We don't know whether they're going to fix it in the next release that they have or not. So there is a workaround to fix what Microsoft broke by doing some registry changes. You can get in contact with us here at Win911, either sales or support, and we can discuss if you want to do that. Or the best way to go future-proofing is just go with the new Grandstream UCM6202. This Grandstream device is our replacement for TAPI, so that no matter what Microsoft wants to do in the next release that could cause issues with TAPI again, the Grandstream won't be affected. The Grandstream allows you to utilize your analog phone line still, but Win911 interfaces with it through a voice over IP connection, a SIP trunk. And if you want more information on that, you can definitely give us a call anytime, speak to sales, and we can get you going. Okay, so just a quick workspace demo just to give you the flow of what we want users to be aware of and how to set things up in the workspace. I'm going to open up my VM real quick. Okay, so what we want to do here is make sure that people are aware of the order of operations here. So the way that this has been set up is you want to configure from left to right. Okay, so you want to start with your Contacts tab. And this will all make sense as soon as we get over to your alarming and your SCADA option. But start from the left here, go to your Contact tab, go to your gateways, and you want to set up each gateway, right? So if you're using voice, set up your voice gateway. Get that done, get that tested, get that working. And then any other gateways that you might have, right? Once the gateways are done, go to your connections. These are your users. These are who's going to be getting the voice calls, who's going to be getting the emails, things like that. Then you want to add these users in here. Okay? Once you finish adding your users in here, continue on from left to right. But you don't have to go to formats if you don't want to. This is for further customization of the alarming formats. But again, so go to the gateways, go to the connections, and then move on from the main header from contact to notification. Now you want to go to your tactics. Basic, and you want to create a basic tactic here. You can call it whatever you want. I've just called mine basic tactic, and the reason that you want to create your contacts first in connections is because in the tactic you're adding the people here. So you're going to have an empty tactic with nobody in it, and that's useless until you start from the left and make those contacts. Okay. Now again, following this order of operations, you created your tactic, you've called out the people that you need to call out, that gets applied to a strategy. So keep on going to the right, create a new strategy. I've called mine basic strategy, and in the strategy settings, you're calling out the tactic that you just made. If you haven't created your users and you haven't created the tactic, this again is going to be moot, and it's not going to be functional. So you call out your basic tactic that you just created, and it's flowing right along. Now that you have your contacts, your gateways, your tactic, and your strategy set up, and you go to the alarming tab, and let's say, for example, we're using InTouch. Go set up your application for InTouch now that you have the rest done. So let me just call this InTouch app, localhost. Okay, and then this is the most important part. When you get to your subscription routes, right, you have to have something in here, or you can do an import, but we recommend subscription routes if you can do it. More dynamic. There's plenty of videos on the Workspace, plenty of videos on InTouch and subscription routes versus import, but again, high level here. Now that you have InTouch application created, you have to have something to filter for. So you want to do all alarms, and you want to go to a strategy. The fact that the strategy is now created, pick your strategy that you've made, which goes to the tactic that you've made, which calls out the people that you've made. Now you're done. So again, I know that was a quick overview, but again, from left to right, create your gateways, set those up, create your connections, who's getting called out. Then you get to apply those to a tactic. You get to apply that tactic to a strategy. Then you get to go to your alarming, go to your SCADA, and then what alarms do you want going to that strategy that's been set up already? And that's it. Alright, so that about does it. Thank you for joining our February 2020 webinar on the installation tips and tricks for Win 911. Again, my name is Jeremiah, and I'm the Training and Technical Support Manager here. Thank you so much. Have a great day.